What's up guys, in this video I'm going to teach you how to color grade cinematic video in Adobe Premiere Pro, turning this clip right here into this clip right here. And I've left a download link to this clip in the description if you want to do this tutorial with me. Plus I've left chapters on this video, so feel free to skip around. Now the first thing you're going to want to do when you're color grading is, if you already don't have the color panel open, how you do this in the top right hand corner, you click on the workspace box, and then you go down, click on color option. Now once you do this, it's going to bring you to this panel like so. And then from here, this is where all the magic happens. Now we've got a bunch of options. We've got basic correction, creatives, curves, HSL Secondary, color wheels, and vignette. I'm going to start with basic curves. These are the key essentials if you're trying to do color grading fast. So the first thing I'm going to do to this video is, I shot this video on my camera a few months ago, is I'm actually just going to crank up the exposure just a little bit, because people typically like brighter videos, brighter photos in general. So I'm just going to turn that up a little bit and then turn down the shadows a lot, so we can actually get like more detail in this video almost. As you can see, we can see a lot more of the definition in this video. And I'm also going to turn up the highlights a lot. It's basically the brightness, so it adds more light to this image overall. And also turn up the contrast. Now as you can see, it already looks a lot better than before. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down the blacks and whites. Now the blacks and whites are basically the blacks and whites of the video, if it wasn't obvious. So I'm just going to turn those down just a little bit, not too much though, because you can actually see a lot more of the color in this video, you could say. And I'm also going to decrease the temperature a little bit. Now temperature is used to like give the video more of a feel. If you're trying to give it a more of a warm look, you use temperature. In this case, I'm going for more of a cooler temperature because I want the colors to be a little bit more vibrant in this video. And then I'm going to turn up the saturation just a little bit, not too much, because I don't want it to be like oversaturated and colors to be too vibrant. Once I turn that up a little bit, I'm pretty satisfied with how this is so far. But if you want to see the before and after of like your progress on how it's been since you've started this, is all you have to do is you click on the little FX in the top right hand corner. As you can see, when I click on that, it shows the before and after, and already we've made a lot of progress on this video. As you can see, I'm going to leave this on because I want it to be color grade it and not color grade it. So once we've done that, and that concludes basic correction. Now once we've done that, we can go down here to the next panel. It's called creatives. As you can see, this is basically a filter. It gives an almost overlay effect of the entire video. As you can see, if we turn up the faded film, it adds almost like a dollar faded effect, which for me, this is not what I'm going for. I'm trying to fix the colors and make the sky and buildings more vibrant. So I'm just going to double click on this slider and it will actually slide back to 0. But the next panel I'm going to go to is I'm going to go to curves. Now curves are one of the biggest, most important things when it comes to color grading, in my opinion. So how you do this is, as you can see, we've got a little bit of like a grid on this curve right here. How you actually make these points is you use your pen tool by clicking on this little graph right here. As you can see, when we drag these points up a little or down a little bit, increases and decreases the exposure and overall the color of the shot. In this case, I'm just going to increase some of these a little bit, not too much or too low, but just a little bit, so that we can add more color and overall get more of the lighting that we are going for, the feel we're going for this video. In this case, I'm just going to do this. Not too much at all. You can mess around with that though. You can also do it for individualized colors like red, green, and blue right there. In this case, I'm just going to go down to the next option, which is color wheels and match. Now me in particular, I don't use this setting a lot. I use HSL Secondary, which I'll go over in a second, a lot more, which actually brings out more of the colors for these buildings and all. But if you want to use color wheels and match, this basically changes the color of the entire image. As you can see, when I crank up the midtones, the shadows, and the highlights a little, it's a lot more like reddish, grayish almost. In this case, I'm just going to Control Z all of that. But if you want to increase them a little bit, I recommend using this slider. I'm just going to do highlights a little bit so we can see the buildings a lot more apparent. And you can also do this, and you can also do the face detection tool on this if you want to change people's face colors. But in this case, I'm not trying to use that, so I'm just going to click on color wheels and match, close that out, and we're going to go down to HSL Secondary. Now this is my favorite setting of the entire color grading process. It has the ability to completely transform your video. In this case, I'm going to click on the eyedropper tool. It's right here next to the set color option. Once you click on that, you can actually choose the color building or the sky or like any subject that you want to in this image. In this case, I'm going to choose a dollar red, like this building right here. And then I'm going to scroll down and you can actually increase the saturation. Now don't be scared by like that little grayed out cloud effect, go down here and then crank up the saturation just a little bit. As you can see, it's very fuzzy to see, it's hard to see, but the reds on the buildings and overall in this image increase quite a bit. And if you want them to be even more apparent, you can take this color correction wheel right here and you can actually drag this towards the color you want it to be. In this case, it's turning a lot more red right now, but if you want it to be blue or more green, you can just drag it down there. In this case, I want it to be red because the bricks are red. Not too much, you want to be careful because otherwise it'll look fake and just look not real. Once I'm satisfied with that, I'm going to turn up the contrast just a little bit, and that is how you change like the colors. You can do this again if you want to. In this case, I don't want to, I just want more of the reds in this image. You can also do that again just by clicking on another eyedropper tool and clicking on a subject that you want to change. In this case, I don't want to do this again, so the next thing I'm going to do is go down to my clip, click on it, then you want to go to Effect Controls. Now, how you actually go to effect controls is you can go into the edit option if you don't see effect controls already, but I can already see it in my case. So you go down to here. Once you're in effect controls, all you do, you click on Lumetri Scopes at the very top, and it might take a second to load. You might have to re-click on your clip, and as you can see, once it loads, you want this graph right here, and if you don't have it, you just right click and you click on the waveform graph. As you can see, it's off now, and there it's on. But what this basically means is you want all of these colorful lines right here around the middle, around the 50, 60, 40 range. You want them like in the middle. This is how Premiere thinks you should color grade it. And you don't want any of these lines to be too high to the top. In this case, if I turned up the exposure all the way, all the lines would be at the very top, which is not what we want. But if I turned it down all the way, it's basically terrible. In this case, I just want them sort of in the middle, just around hovering 50%. It's okay if they're a little scattered because that's how it looks sometimes, but you just don't want any touching the very top or very bottom in this case. And you can also change a lot of these settings. If you want your Lumetri scopes to be more in the middle, you can increase your shadows and decrease your whites, and they're more in the middle. That's not what I'm going for, but if that is what you're going for, use these as a guiding reference. And then finally, the last thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna go down to Vignette. Now Vignette, you just click on it. It's again in the color panel settings, and it basically adds like just a little bit of a border around your entire image. In this case, if I increase it, it adds like a white, shifting your focus to the center of the image. But if I decrease it, it actually like adds a little bit more black to the edges. And you can actually add a feather to this too. As you can see, that's a feather with zero flow, but if you increase the feather more, it actually does more of a gradual turn towards the vignette. As you can see, when we add more blacks, it definitely shifts your focus towards more of the center of this image, and overall, it just looks a lot better. In this case, I'm not gonna go for a vignette, maybe a small one, because I want these buildings and these cars to be more apparent in this image. But once I'm satisfied with that, let's check the before and after. How you do this again, FX button in the top right corner. Click on it, that's the before and after. And you can also change more of these settings as you go, but that's basically the essentials to color grading. Color grading makes all the difference to your videos, and I recommend you share this with a friend if they need to increase their video quality.